Just have a little talk sesh.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
about to start the podcast. So if you could get the out of
That was hilarious. To all our viewers out
Hey,
there.
Aiden, I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding. I got insecure. I was on the microphone. I got insecure.
Yeah, same.
I didn't mean to talk.
No worries. I forgot an actor's name, but he looked like an actor, and I was going to make fun of him.
Well, I guess we're live here on episode 1 of It's Not Funny.
It's not funny! It's not funny, dude.
It's
I've been
not
excited about it. It's not funny.
I hope no one expects it to be funny because
It's not funny.
it's
supposed to
not
be funny.
funny at all. So, tell me about your day.
My day's the same as any other young American, just going to school, working, doing homework assignments, coming home to a apartment.
Paul's like, my day's the same as any other 35-year-old man going to school. When I ask about your day, I do want to know, but it's usually when anyone asks about your day, they don't want to know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, I answered the way I answered, to be honest with you, because I have to watch out for certain systems at play. Like, I wouldn't want it to be public information that I do things that are against school rules or something like that. Not that I do.
Right, and you make a great point, especially on episode 1 here, because you go to a private school.
Yep.
And they have some rules. And we obviously can't say the name of the school just because of the nature of the podcast being public. And the audience has got to be like, what kind of tyrannical school does this guy go to that he can't make a podcast?
I'm happy you put that restriction up because it allows me to be open and honest about it, which I think people should hear. They should hear the truth about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Not some fake version of that.
Right. I also went to said school, which is how Mr. Walters and I know each other so well.
Yep.
We go back so far.
I'm trying to think how many years ago that was. It's 2015 now. No, it's 2008. Wow, dude. It's 2018 now. We met in 2011, if I do recall.
You recall correct. 2011, yeah, that was freshman year.
So if we can do math, it's like 7 years, dude.
It is 2018. It's wild to be. It's 2018. I'm a 90s baby, and so are you, and it's 2018.
Yeah.
It still blows my mind when I meet an 80s baby. I can't believe.
You think of them as so much older.
Right. But here we are, 20 years later. We're adults, full blown. Life is just, as an adult, life is just an existential crisis, right? It's
the ever awakening realization that you have responsibility and that life is suffering.
I remember I guess it was when I was home in the summers from college. I would go hang out with friends, and in the city, where I was from, and we'd hang out in the garage and do what 19-year-olds do in the garage. I don't even know what that means, but
well, it sounds shady, so.
But I was always shocked by, because I worked full time back then, and I remember thinking to myself, like, all week I'm working, I'm taking care of this, taking care of that, and I didn't have a hard life, but I had my responsibilities, and I had a full time job, and I worked so hard for that 2 hours in the garage Friday night, just hanging with a friend.
Yep.
And it was great, and then it was done.
Yeah.
And then I'd go home, and maybe I had something fun the next day, but otherwise, it was just like shocking to me, because I remember thinking, like, how hard do I have to work for this sliver of
fleeting happiness?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
you said you were how old when you started feeling that way? Like, do you think you felt that
20.
way before?
I was too high energy to feel like that before.
Yeah.
But once I got older, now I'm 25, you quickly learn that you don't even get a sliver.
Of that fleeting moment in time that we all live for. It was around the same age for me. I was probably 18 years old when I started to realize that life was more full of things I didn't like doing than things that I did enjoy. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it. That's a dang good way to put it.
And that's what life was. And here we are 7 years later. And would you say it's still the same? How would you describe, how do you view your life, as in its pros and cons? How do you view your life?
See, I actually had a conversation with my wife the other day.
Yeah.
And we were talking about our careers, and she's an artist, I'm an artist. I work in the entertainment business. I'm a musician.
Yeah.
And she's a studio artist. She's incredibly talented.
Very talented.
She's trying to carve her way out in that field, and we were having a conversation kind of similar to this, and I was telling her, like, she needs to delude herself. She needs to be more delusional. That was the advice I had for her.
More delusional.
Right. Because she is so good, and I'll bring this back full circle, but she is so good at what she does, and she'll make a piece, and it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And she knows it's phenomenal, but then it kind of just stays there, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
show the world, take this to the world.
And
she's so humble that she's always like, they don't want to see it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you're actually probably right. They don't want to see it. Or I mean, that's not true all the time, but like most people, they're just doing their own thing.
Right.
But I've always deluded myself and been delusional enough to think that I had something worth sharing.
Yeah.
And I would just be so convinced of it.
Yeah.
That whether or not whatever the song was or whatever it was I was working on, whether it was that great or not, I, for whatever reason, believed it was.
Yeah.
And I just pushed it as hard as I could. And so, to answer your question,
okay,
it's I'm really happy with what I have right now, in the sense that my day to day is either creating something, musically, or a video, or whatever it may be, and then, taking it then to as many eyes or ears as we possibly can.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that hustle, but I mean,
and you believe in it. You want to do it, and you get excited about thinking about doing it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But it does, half the time you're doing a bunch of stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Most of the things that I do throughout the day I enjoy, but I only enjoy it for the first 25% of the time that I have to do it. I like working on a website. I love working on a website for a few minutes. Yeah. Not for 2-3 hours. Which is what I have to end up doing if there's a problem or some kind of issue in the code or. So it's hard like that.
I think the issue for you is that you're more or less running a whole business, and you don't have many employees. So you're running you got to answer the phone calls, you got to do the emails, you got to make the itinerary, you got to make the posters, you got to put out the posters. You know what I mean? You got to do the whole shebang.
Right, more or less. Thankfully I have a little bit of a team now. But yeah, I mean, it's a hustle. But it keeps me distracted, if nothing else.
Busyness is a good thing to a point.
No doubt.
Well, I guess what I was trying to say is that you do so many different things that maybe there's a bit of novelty each time you do one of them, but then shortly it becomes busy work, as pretty much does everything. I think that there's got to be some secret recipe to what you do that makes it the busy work that's worth doing. Why do you choose to write a song, or why do you choose to answer emails as opposed to raking the lawn, or whatever it is that you could be doing, wasting time watching Netflix?
I mean, if that's a direct question, it's funny because the older I get, and I'm not old, I'm 25, I'm young, but the older I get, the more...
If you look at the expanse of history, 25 is you're a full-fledged adult. You cannot use the excuse that you're still immature at 25.
Right, I can't get away with anything.
Yeah, right, exactly. AKA adulthood.
Right. But as a 25-year-old, my thoughts have become less clear about certain things. And when I'm 18, I was so sure that 100% of my motive was to share a message bestowed upon. It was so
Yeah,
noble. It was so
Yep,
noble.
Yep. You believed in that.
Right. And as I get older, the more I start to become aware of myself, and I'm like, how much of this is legacy building?
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay. What
some
do
of
you
it
mean
is
by
legacy
legacy building?
Everybody wants to leave a good name.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to create something or just do something with their lives that people respect, or maybe not even productively. Maybe they want to be infamous.
Right.
Right. And
they
I
want to
suppose,
be known, whether that's for good or bad reasons.
Exactly. But
Okay.
and I suppose that's not always true. I'm sure there's some people who don't want to be remembered at all.
Yeah.
But that's just not who I am.
He
What
said,
about you?
looking intently in me in the eye.
What about you though? I mean,
well, I'm trying to think of how to. There are tons of reasons that people do the things they do, and I think a lot of what people live for at the end of the day is what they're going to leave behind. Weirdly enough, and I do think there is something more to that should be explored. But what was your question?
I guess just to flip it back on you, you are. Let's talk about you for a second. You are. You mentioned you're a student. You're also. You're going back to get another degree, Paul. Paul's
Yes.
going back to get another degree.
Grad degree, which I just realized it was called that. I always just told people, I'm like, yeah, I'm just getting another degree. I guess you're a grad student when you've graduated. So
Paul's like, I'm going for degree number 3.
Right. I'm going for the what's the hat trick is what.
He's like, let me guess, you're after number 1. He's like, I remember when I was getting degree number 1.
Yeah, I remember when I was just a young buck showing up to
peasant.
class, all excited. Not anymore, baby. Not anymore.
So Paul, you're a student, and you've also been a school teacher, right?
Yes,
Before?
2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's kind of where your passion is a good bit.
Absolutely, it's what I get up and I'm excited about to do.
I'm asking as
day.
if I don't know. Of course, I'm baiting the conversation towards the audience. Clearly, I know. Me and Paul go way back.
Well, I think it's good even for us to we've been close friends for a long time, and I think might even be good for us to almost renew our vows. You know what I mean? Like just catch up with our young selves again, dude. That's what we should be doing.
It's cool.
But teaching's definitely where it's at for me, and I mean I can talk about that as much as you'd like. It's something that excites me. Partly selfishly, actually. Teaching's a hard job, but it's got a lot of reward to it in the relationships you build and in the lives you change, whether that's for good or for bad,
Right. And you're an art teacher, or you have been, and that's kind of the direction you're going.
I'm currently getting an art degree in order to teach art. That being said, the more I do it, and I most certainly could be an art teacher. That's what I've been planning on doing. But the more I paint and draw and go to school, the more I think I want to be an elementary teacher and not specifically an art teacher. You
know what's crazy? As a musician, I have so many musician friends, and one of the things you always hear like local musicians or just musicians in general, they'll kind of joke about is like playing songs to people who don't even care to hear them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How hard is it for you as a teacher to try and teach something you're so passionate about to these kids that I'm sure most of the time, many of these young kids could care less?
They could care less. That to me is the number one growing complaint in teachers. Every teacher I've talked to, the complaint is the apathy of the students. It's very hard, and to be honest with you, it's one of the factors that have motivated me to consider elementary teaching, because I'm so passionate about art and I want to see people succeed so badly that I think I would get crushed by the weight of all the kids that didn't care. They don't care about it anymore,
That's too bad, man. I don't know if I could do that. I would get so frustrated.
It's frustrating, but I think it's the teacher's job to make them care, though. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's what it's supposed to be.
So you have I'm glad you're going to be teaching this next generation and not me. That's not the job.
Me too, man.
Wow. So Do you miss your students
I really do. Every single day.
every day? Are
Every
there
day.
certain ones like you probably had?
Yeah,
those certain
yeah.
students that just were so.
Well, to all the students out there, let me give you some advice on student-teacher relationships. If you give them the respect, they are going to like you. If you are willing to listen to what the teacher has to say and understand how it works, then they're going to like you. That's all you have to do.
How hard should a teacher have to work to win over a student, or to if they're just, where do you draw that line?
It all depends on the day, and I do think you need to try.
It depends on the amount of sleep you got the
Well,
night before, I'm sure.
it does. It does. It really does. And I think you get refreshed every single day to where you can approach Antoine or whoever it is, Darcy or Marcel. You can approach any one of these guys and work on them. You can try again the next day. There is something to say about persistence.
How much do you view your calling as a teacher as, like, do you view the group as your priority, or is it more like a daily one-on-one project where you're trying to make individual strides? Because I personally tend to, I try and approach relationships in my life in more of a one-on-one manner.
Yeah.
I view them that way at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually look at my friend group as a whole. Not that your students are your friend group. That's kind of a weird parallel to draw, but
Well, that's a question I have thought about and that I don't think about anymore, because here's my answer for it. To me, it's a one-on-one thing. And it's dumb and it's cliche, but everybody says it. If I could change even one person's life, it would be worth it. And it really would be. But being a teacher, you are responsible for so many different people, just your influence on them. Like at least 250 different people every single day. And that to me is motivating. That's like, okay, like I got to be watching myself. I got to be doing my best thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's got to really help with getting up in the morning.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, man, it's like there's so many layers to it.
I'm like, so you get up in the morning,
right? So like, you actually do something. What's wrong with you?
Did you see? There's a documentary coming out on Mr. Rogers.
No way. You're kidding me.
I just saw the trailer in the theater, and it was just the trailer, just kind of was moving. It was powerful.
Dude.
It looks powerful.
Don't even get me started on the topic of Fred Rogers. I worship the man. I worship the ground that man walks on.
This documentary, we're going to have to go see it then.
Wow. I would pay $25 to go see a Fred Rogers documentary.
Honestly, there was a magic there. Like, I like the guy, but there's a scene in the documentary. He's like talking to this child in a wheelchair, and this I'm not sure what the situation of this child was, but he's sitting there just eye to eye, and I forget what they were talking about. But he was just hanging out with this child.
And Fred said something to the boy.
They were just hanging out, and it was touching, And I know how much you like Mr. Rogers.
Oh yeah.
So I thought of you. But yeah, you're gonna wanna keep your eye out on that one.
Well, I'm definitely going to, and we definitely need to see that. Fred Rogers has a way of simplifying truth and delivering it in a healthy manner, and that's the reason I love him. Like he talks to people as if he genuinely does care, like he's talking to them one-on-one, and I think that's why people vibe with him.
I care deeply about children.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Mr. Rogers was just getting home every day, just cracking beers? He's like, these kids, these damn kids. He's like,
I care deeply about children.
I see it. First of all, I see it every day, people doing that. But the father of the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther, he wrote extensively on his love of beer and would drink almost every single night. Not a lot. He wouldn't get drunk. There's a difference. But he would drink frequently. Martin Luther.
So you don't think Martin Luther was a little toasted when he pounded the 99 Theses?
He might have had a beer that day.
What if that was the night he had 2 beers?
He could have. And that wouldn't change how I felt about the 95 Theses, if that's what you're saying.
Right.
Let me read for you a quote by Fred Rogers. Not to hype on the man too much, but I think there's a reason he's worth talking about.
Let's hear it.
This is what Fred says. He says, "If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of. There is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person. Like, I personally get goosebumps hearing Fred Rogers talk
I care deeply about children.
because he talks so earnestly and so directly to the point. He basically says, you care to other people and that you care to me. And he just gives that
Wow.
example of love to other people. And I think it frees up other people to give that up as well.
You don't hear that message. That's a message you don't hear a lot of. It seems like a lot of messaging, I guess, as one might put it, is geared towards the self right now. It's like
big
very,
time.
very self-empowering, which is
It's
I'm
the
all about it.
postmodern
But
world. It's the postmodern world.
I'm about self-empowerment, but the whole purpose has to be for others, right? When it's all said and done.
And I think so. I think that's what life is meant for, is for other people, ironically.
Right. And that statement alone is so packed full. You could probably break it down
yeah.
every which way.
Right.
But that's a great quote. I appreciate you sharing that.
We're talking about what's important in life, and we're discussing the difference between life lived for yourself, which you need to do. You need to be responsible for yourself, and then life lived for others. I remember Charlie Rose, the show host. He actually had Fred Rogers on one time, and they were both discussing this very issue. And what they came to the conclusion was that people who live their life to help others are more satisfied and are more happy, which is what you want for yourself. It's a win-win. You know what I mean?
If you're focusing on making other people smile,
Yeah.
I guess that leaves less time for you to be wallowing in your own.
Right, absolutely.
Garbage.
The saying goes, idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Man, it all ties together, doesn't it?
I really think it does. I think life is cyclical like that.
There is like a central theme to so many things.
Yeah.
So many things.
It's analogous to like the shape of an atom. Like it's just all held together and spiraling around itself.
That's a whole nother topic. We're hopping one stepping stone to another quite quickly. I hope it's not too fast a speed. I think we're all right though.
We're good. We're just having a good time.
We have obviously you guys can't see it. We're here in Paul's living room. He's got quite a chill pad, I must say.
It's very chill.
He's got he's got a tree in here in the corner, and I'm sinking deeply into his couch. I love this couch. How
it's special, yeah.
It puts you in touch with the ground. It's like camping almost in a way. It's like you're right on the ground, right on the floor.
Oh yeah, it's a shitty couch. Is another way of saying it.
It's a genuine couch.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is. It's had many a generation of sit upon it.
Oh my gosh. Man, so listeners, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, send us a
shoot
call.
us a message. So me and you could give us a call too. Now, wouldn't that be something? On a pre-recorded show, someone calls in live.
There you go.
That would be.
I'd love to see it. Let's see the first person to call in live on a pre-recorded show gets $10 million.
This is HQ.
Yeah.
So, do you play HQ?
Oh, you know what? I just stopped playing.
You just
HQ.
stopped playing
I
HQ.
just stopped. Yep.
The notifications. I still get the notifications. Every day, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
They
3
deceive
o'clock.
me every single time too.
I know. They get you the notification. You stop what you're doing. You turn on the game, and it's like
every day at 3 and 9 o'clock. HQ's going down.
HQ. What gets me is I get the notification, and I pull up the apps, and there's like 10 minutes to go still or something. It's like, gosh.
Yeah.
They want to get you. They want you to get that popcorn going. You know?
Exactly.
That's a cool concept for a game, though. I mean, it held my attention for a while.
It's brilliant. It really is.
It's cool, and the whole splitting the cash up though, that was a little deceptive.
It was, but if you're winning any sort of money for answering 15 questions, I'm not complaining. You know what I mean?
That's true. I love how the first 2 questions are always so easy. And then the third question is like, how many hairs were on George Washington's head?
Exactly.
Like
no, the questions are loaded. It's obvious what they're doing,
Right.
But there's some smart guy out there who happens to know the answers to all those questions.
It's just some some.
It's
He's
the
wearing
lottery.
he's wearing white New Balance shoes with the Velcro.
No, see, I always picture it as some like weathered guy out on the farm who lived the city life and then retired, and he's just got that life experience. Weirdly, you know.
Just knows a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not me, because I can't get it.
I never get past question 6, and hardly there.
I was gonna say I'm surprised you make it that far. I can't. I panic. You know, you get such a short amount of time.
The questions are hard, but yeah. You know, I wasn't always into trivia games. In fact, I'm not a huge. I wasn't before. I'm actually growing. What's funny is that as I get older, I become more childlike in my enjoyment of things. And
Well,
I wasn't always a trivia person. That was what I'm saying.
What you're saying about being more childlike, I would think that's a good thing. If you're kind of
I think it's a good
if you're going
thing.
that direction, then because I mean, I wish I could enjoy the simple, you know, sometimes you know more or less meaningless things
Yeah.
that I
right.
enjoyed as a younger child or just even as a teenager. It's amazing how fast that goes away.
One of the most inspiring things to me about kids is their fascination with life. They love it. You know, life is just a world of strange noises, smells, sights, and things to touch and play on. You know, it's just a world of opportunities that haven't been explored.
Know what I miss?
What's
I
that?
remember, so, you know, my dad was a pastor, and so we would be in church, you know, every time the doors were open, literally, we were in church.
Right.
And, you know, when you're a young boy going to a Baptist church in, you know, in America, you're wearing khaki pants, right?
Right. Right.
A lot
and
of the times.
And some sort of collared shirt.
Right. You're wearing khaki pants. You're wearing a tucked-in polo. It's usually some, like, bright orange
And
color.
Sperry's, right? Tell me you were wearing Sperry's.
You know, the Sperry's came about when I was, you know, senior in high school, freshman in college, and I was so rebellious by that time that
Right.
I wouldn't have anything to do with it just because of how many people did.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But as a young child, I remember wearing the khaki pants, and my mom would be so upset because after church, you know, we'd go play out in the yard, play football or whatever it is, and we'd just be rolling, sliding through the grass, getting just taking pride in the depth of the grass stains and the how deep and dark those stains would be. There's like chunks of dirt hanging off them. Yeah. And what's wild is no matter how dirty and how messy we got, it's like it didn't even faze us a bit, you know? And I miss that because now if I just spill like a drop of coffee on my pants, my day's ruined.
It's funny because that specifically is something that motivates my frugalness in life. So there was a kid growing up. His name was Chandler. His mom always bought him nice clothes. He was wearing the nice button down, tucked into his nice American Eagle pants with his nice shoes on.
Oh, so Chandler had the light up shoes.
Yeah, Chandler had the light up shoes. But he would get dirty in those things. Like he didn't care what he did. He was doing it. And he would always just look like he had been through a tornado, but he was wearing nice clothes.
The clothes you knew that you couldn't have.
And he looked fine. He looked like a good kid, you know? He was just like a little rough around the edges, you know?
That's what's up. I miss dirt smudging. I miss having to take a shower or a bath because you're forced to, you know? Like
I think it's the feeling of exhaustion that we miss. Exhaustion and fun, you know? And that's what kids get. That's what play is.
Yeah. I suppose that adults kind of get a little bit of that if they're playing like football or, you know, any kind of rough physical activity, fighting at a bar late at night. I suppose.
I mean, my honest theory is that we chase the youthfulness and the joys of childhood all our lives. We don't really. We get older, but deep down, we're all still kids. You know what I mean?
Right. Remember when taking your phone out socially was rude?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How dare you check your text while we were having a conversation?
Right.
Technically, it still is rude.
It is, but here's the thing, though, is that so many people do it, is that it's become, okay, well, you're a but I'm not going to talk about it.
one of the greatest social comforts that I experience, like hilariously so, is when you're going to hang out with someone. It's just you and them one-on-one, whether it's just like a friendship thing or even if it's like a more formal arrangement. And whoever you're meeting with, it's just whipping their phone out left and right, and they're checking. And they're not being rude. You know, they're still like they're not letting it affect how they're interacting with you. But I love that because I then know I have full license to kill.
It's okay for you to do it too.
It's game on, you know? It is game on. HQ, here we come,
right,
you know?
Right, you're answering those questions. You're trying to win $50,000.
I'm getting all the way to question 3.
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny how it kind of got to that point, though. Or at least it seems like. Maybe I just need better friends. They don't care about me. They're checking their phones.
No, here's the thing is that I'm one of those people that intentionally tries to be good about the phone because I do think it's disrespectful, but everybody does it. I've never met a person on earth who doesn't do it. Never. Not once.
When your phone dies, it runs out of batteries and you can't, you have no access to a charger. You don't have a chance to charge it for like a couple hours or even the rest of the night or whatever it is. Like that first moment you realize your phone has died, you're destroyed. You're like, no, you're crushed.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you just accept your fate,
you become more enjoyable in the things that you're doing.
Yeah, it's like you're on vacation suddenly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you've just like ingested an opiate and you're just
my little brother Aiden just went 5 or 6 days without a phone, and he still talks about how awesome that was, just not having a phone. He said he was sad to get it back.
You should just flush his phone down the toilet.
You know how many times I've thought about going to the river and just throwing my phone in there, man?
It would be great, except for the first. You would immediately just have to drive to the phone store and buy a new one.
You would have to. The phone has become every tool minus manual labor, but sometimes even.
Right. It is crazy. It's a computer in your hand, no doubt. It's all your personal information. It's your navigation. It's your finances. You got your banking app. You can send all your money off to somewhere,
That you could list the possibilities of things that you could do in the real world with a phone, with an internet phone of some all day. You could talk about it forever. You can do anything with a phone. Anything.
I want to go back in time. Can you imagine when we book tours for the band, when we book tours?
Right.
We're sending emails. Occasionally a message on Facebook or something if we got like a good relationship with someone.
Right.
Can you imagine? I can't even imagine where to begin if you can't use the internet. Like, what are you sending letters? It's like you're calling up venues, talking to the bartender,
It would take a long time to adjust to a no internet.
I wonder. I mean, and obviously, I'm thinking specifically of like music and bands, but to go on tour in 2018, like that's an impressive thing. It's a show of professionalism.
Yeah.
But it's far less impressive than going on tour in 1970. You know?
Oh yeah.
If your band's going on tour for a month in 1970. It's like that's
you were good.
You're not small potatoes. You got something good's going on here.
Absolutely.
And I suppose if you're going out for a month in 2018, you got some great stuff going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot to be said.
I think with the influx of availability of information comes the lessened importance in your life. Because if you're on your phone all day, every single thing you look at just becomes another thing you forget.
It's not funny!
Thank you guys for listening. The podcast actually has been around for years. We just haven't recorded it. So
exactly.
We figured it was time to be efficient with our production and actually record the show.
Or just sit in the living room and hold microphones.
Right.
Have an excuse too.
We're legacy building after all.
There we
right?
go. We are legacy building.